Hey, this is Darren from Property Prosperity, and today I thought I'd have a little bit of chat about renovating your house. And you might have seen an episode from me, probably a couple of months ago now almost, and I came up with the crazy idea of thinking about running a competition where I'd get in there and renovate somebody's house, and just to see how much value we could create, basically. And so we get everyone to enter the competition, have a look at everyone's house, and decide which one we're going to add the most amount of value to. And basically they're going to be a winner. We're going to come in and renovate their house, add a huge amount of value to their property, and whatever they choose to do, they might then choose to sell their property or keep it or rent it out or whatever. So I've actually finally got it all together. It's taken me a while. I've gone out and had a chat to all my tradies that I've been using over the years. So now I've got on board a landscaper that's going to landscape the yard, and I've got on board a flooring guy so we can do some laminate or some carpet. And I have a painter, and I have someone that's going to help us out with the kitchen, and I've got someone to help us out with doing the bathroom, and we've got a plumber, and we've got an electrician. So we've pretty much got it all together now. So you can imagine if you have all those things you're doing to a house, the amount of value it's going to create. So I'm expecting it to cost more than $40,000 to renovate the house. So it is a $40,000 renovation competition. So, but saying that, to be honest, the cost of the renovation is only in small part the prize. In reality, the prize is going to be the extra value we create on the property. So, from my own personal experience, I've added $100,000 to the value of a house purely by just doing a renovation. In the space of like a month. I know other examples where people added $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 to the value of their house by doing a renovation. So the thing I want to have a chat to you about today is what things are worth renovating and what things aren't worth renovating. So the thing to understand, it really depends on why you're renovating your house. So like I said, some of these people are going to be doing it because they want to sell their house. Some people are going to be doing it because they want to keep living in the house and just want to have a nice house to live in. And other people are going to do it for tenants and for renting it out. So there's going to be different things you do for different purposes, basically. So, example, if you're living in the house, then it doesn't really matter. Whatever makes you happy, then just do that. Thing to understand, though, if you spend too much on the house, and if you get to a point where you spend so much more than what value it's created in the property, then that's something called overcapitalizing. So you spent more than what the property's worth. So let's say your house is worth $400,000, and the average price of the house in the area is worth $450,000. If you went and spent $200,000 on a renovation, suddenly your house is worth $600,000, where the average price of a house in the area is $450,000. It doesn't mean that someone's not going to see the value you've created and really appreciate it. And it doesn't mean that someone out there can't afford a $600,000 house. The thing is, they don't have to buy your house, and they don't have to buy in that area. So what's going to happen, there will be people who can afford your $600,000 house, but what they may do is, rather than choosing your house, which is relatively more expensive than every other house in the area by quite a way, they might then choose to buy something that's slightly closer to the city, or something closer to the beach, or something with a better view. And so what you start to do is you start to compete against houses in other suburbs, where when your house, if you overcapitalize and spend too much on it, you're right at the very top end of your market. Whereas you go a couple of suburbs over, 600,000 might be the bottom end of that market. So the problem you get then is buyers may be deciding, okay, do I spend top end of this market and this suburb with the potential that it might go down, and there's who knows whether it's actually going to ever go up over time, or buy in the bottom end of another suburb where they can maybe add some extra value. Maybe it needs some renovating themselves, and they spend 50 grand, they've added 100 grand's worth of value. So this is the problem you're going to get if you overcapitalize your property. So my advice to you is, even if you're doing it for yourself and you don't really care, you're never going to sell it, and you don't care what other people think, understand things change and the situation may change, that you may have to sell your house in the future. And it may happen sooner than what you think. And so let's say you spend your $200,000 on a renovation, suddenly you get a job offer to work over interstate. You need to sell your house. There's no point having it sitting there. And suddenly that $200,000 you've spent is only added $50,000 in value when you go to sell the house. So essentially you've lost 150 grand in value. So that's the first thing. If you're going to do it for yourself, then it doesn't really matter as long as you don't overcapitalize on the property. The next thing is, if you're doing it for a rental property, then you really got to focus on what's going to give you the best rental return. And so again, that's going to be comparable to other houses in the area. But tenants are just like you and me. They like a nice house to live. So probably things like putting new flooring down, maybe painting the house, maybe the landscaping. They're the most inexpensive things you can do to make the house nicer. As far as putting in new kitchens, new bathrooms, knocking out walls and all that sort of stuff, that's going to be way too expensive to look at to try and increase your rental return. Because you think about it, you might spend new flooring, new painting, your landscaping, all that sort of stuff. You spend 15 grand, 20 grand, max, probably 10 to 15. You might add an extra, I don't know, $50 a week in rent, So understanding that 15 grand, that's going to take you a long time to get that back when you're only getting an extra $50 a week in rent. But you still are getting a better rental return, and you might be a better quality tenant. And if things did change, and you had to sell the property, then you would be able to sell it for more money. Thing to understand: the things you're spending money on are quite cosmetic. So you put a tenant in there, and if they stay there for the next 5 years, in 5 years' time, you're probably going to have to replace the flooring again and get it repainted and fix up the landscaping again anyway. So it is a very short-term thing just to get the tenant in there. And hopefully you find a really good tenant that looks after the house and looks after the flooring and the paint and maintains the garden. But you can't guarantee that. So more look at those costs as more of a disposable cost, that I wouldn't expect that to necessarily add value to when you want to sell the property, because it may not be in the same condition as when you originally just painted it and put the new flooring down and stuff. So the next thing is if we're going to sell the house, what should we spend money on when we're going to sell the house? And again, it also just depends, really. What I would be doing is contacting an agent that has experience with your market and has experience with the different properties within your market. So the thing to understand is no point saying the house down the road sold for $450. How does your house compare to that house? And if your house is, your agent currently values your house at $400,000, and if you put a new kitchen and a new bathroom and new flooring and all that sort of stuff, and totally renovate the house, and then your house is worth $452, then it's probably not worth renovating. At the end of the day, if you've got to spend 50 grand just to add 50 grand's worth of value, then you're not really getting any return from your money, really. And also, how do you know that that person that's buying the house wanted the same type of flooring or the same kitchen or the same bathroom or the same whatever? So if you know that you're only going to add the value that you're spending anyway, you might as well just leave it up to the person that's buying the property off you and let them renovate the property. And so then they can have what they want. Hey, thanks for the like. Hey, Mike T, thanks for joining. And so yeah, let them do whatever they want. But saying that, if you can see down the road, there's a house down the road that sold for $550 when they put a new kitchen and a new bathroom and new flooring, new paintwork. So you can see your house is worth $400,000 now. You spend $50,000 and suddenly it's going to be worth $550. You're adding $100,000 worth of value just by spending 50 grand. And so, especially, you really don't want to rely on just one property as your sample. If you can see multiple properties that are selling significantly more than yours purely because they've been renovated and updated, then that's a good benchmark for you to rely upon, saying, hey, well, I think if I spend the 50 grand, then I can get it, 150 grand back, essentially. So it's only I'm making 100 grand in profit. So, hey, Mike. And so yeah, that's the thing. You really got to do your numbers. You really probably need the advice of a real estate agent. That's not purely because just trying to look at what things sold from the area, but also they're actually out there every day trying to sell the property, and they're getting feedback from buyers every single day. And so they know what buyers are looking for, and they'll say, hey, it's worth doing this or it's not worth doing that. To be honest with you, when I've got people coming to me, they, quite often I get people that call me saying, hey, I want to get you to come out and appraise my property. I want to see what it's worth. Quite often they call me after they've renovated the property, and I get out there and have a look around the house, and they've done some things they probably didn't need to do. They've spent money that they probably didn't need to spend. And likewise, they may not have spent money on things they should have spent money on. And so the concern for me is they could have redirected that money and put money into things that would return, give them a better return on their investment. And so, that's quite often why I say to people, hey, before you even think about selling your house, before you even think about renovating, give me a call then. I'll come out, have a chat to you, look at what your options are. Because the thing is, I might give you some feedback, and then you may change your mind. You may choose not to sell your house. You might say, hey, well, actually, when I look at comparable sales of, what I'm going to get for it and what it's going to cost me to buy another house, by the time I take into account, agent fees and then stamp duty buying another house, then maybe it's not worth it. Maybe I just keep the house I've got now and renovate. Maybe I can't get anything better than what I've got right now. So, and obviously that's up to you getting an agent that's honest enough with you to give you that feedback. But obviously for me, I do lots of things for clients, so I'm not just purely a real estate agent. So I've got plenty of options as far as giving people advice. But you find most agents, they do want to set up, or the good agents at least, do want to set up a long-term relationship with with their owners. So, they're happy to give you honest advice. And it may mean you don't sell that particular property, but who knows? You might sell an investment property on the track, or you might refer them through to somebody else. So, your good agents are more focused on the long term than the short term anyway. So they're not purely focused on, let's just sell it for whatever price we can and get a big fat commission, basically. So hopefully it's made sense to you. Hopefully you've had a bit more information about what you should renovate and what you shouldn't renovate. And I think it's all about having a strategy and understand why you're doing things rather than just doing it for the sake of it. And hopefully you're getting excited about my $40,000 home renovation. And if you are keen, I'll keep you up to date. It's pretty soon to be released, probably within the next week. So keep an eye out, and I'm sure you'll hear about it because I'm definitely going to be telling everyone I know. So thanks, guys. I look forward to talking to you again next time. If you like what I had to say, then click on the like button, obviously. If you haven't liked it, still click on the like button because I'd really appreciate it. And if you've got something you want me to talk about in a future episode, or you've had an experience with a renovation you've done and you've had a good outcome, or maybe not so good outcome, I'd love to hear about it. Put a comment in the comment box, and happy to have a chat to you. And I look forward to talking to you again next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.